Today we're going to be talking about the step-by-step process to go from $0 to $1 million a year as a commercial real estate broker. First, we're going to start off with the elusive $100,000. Everyone just wants to make their first 100 grand in this business per year. Let's talk about exactly what you need to do. It's very simplistic. I'm going to keep it incredibly simple for you. To make your first 100 grand in commercial real estate, I want you to focus on two things and two things only until you start making that kind of money. Number one is lead generation. Number two is lead conversion. All you're going to do all day long is spend your entire day focused on lead generation, generating new leads, people who would like to sell their property, people who are open to buying properties, and then the conversion piece of it, which is now selling these leads, these opportunities to buyers, right? Reaching out to a bunch of buyer clients, the people that you possibly generated who didn't want to sell but maybe open to buying. All you're going to be doing all day long is lead generation, ton of lead generation, and a ton of lead conversion all day long. You're going to spend all day long until you generate your 2 leads every single day, two people who would like to sell their property, and then you're going to be on the offer generation side of the game, contracts, or you're going to be basically taking these seller leads, getting as much information as you can, and then pitching it to a bunch of your buyers, trying to get offers on those properties. And you're just going to do that every day, all day. 2 leads generated, 1 offer generated every day. That's all you should be doing for 365 days a year until you're earning over $100,000 a year, because that's how simple this game is. And of course, in order to sell the property on the conversion side, you might have to go tour the property with the buyer. So that might be part of your conversion part of your day, but you don't do it during lead generation time. I only go on those types of appointments, or I have my team at this point really go on those appointments after 2 o'clock. So after 2 o'clock, you can go on those appointments. You can go on, you can spend time in the conversion world. But until really, 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, when you've generated those 2 leads, then you can go start spending time in the conversion side. But you don't even get to the conversion side until you generated your 2 leads. Now let's dive into how to go from $100,000 a year to several $100,000 a year. Number one is you must follow a very, very regimented schedule. You're going to do a daily meeting every day for 5 to 15 minutes. It can be by yourself. It can be by yourself or with a team. I'm going to tell you to start hiring, okay, in a minute. But you're going to do a daily meeting for 5 to 15 minutes. Talk about exactly what needs to be done today. In your meeting, you're going to be talking about red flags. What are major red flags that have to be handled the next 5, 10, 15 minutes as soon as the meeting's over. Number 2, you're going to talk about what deals are on the table, like your closest leads that are about to be in contract, what you can work on like you're going to be working on later today for the conversion part of your day, your offer generation time. You're going to be talking about what deals you have in contract right now and what needs to be done to move those balls along, right? Who you got to get in touch with, what's the next step, where are they at in this, what stage are they at? And then you're also going to be talking about what system and what process needs to be worked on for this month. What's most important to be handling this month? You're only going to do 1 project a month. 1 project a month at most. Because if you try to do like 10 projects at the same time, it's not going to work. You do 1 project, you finish it, next project. Next is you're going to go immediately into lead generation. No matter what, you're still going to lead generate at least 5 days a week. Obviously you can watch some lead generation videos that I posted in the past about how to generate some seller leads, but you're going to be focused for at least 2 to 3 hours minimum. Okay, whatever it takes to generate at least 2 good seller leads a day. And you're not going to be able to scale your business unless you're generating a great amount of leads. So you're in your lead generation time for 2, 3, possibly more hours a day. Every day you're going to get right into that right away. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to hire an administrative assistant. Now this person can be a VA. This administrative assistant is going to do all of your $5, $10 an hour tasks. They're going to export lead lists. They can import your properties into the MLS or in the softwares once you possibly get a listing. Get this person to manage your email. This person can manage your CRM system, making sure that everyone's getting responses, right? All the tasks that maybe you missed, so you can move them to the next day, right? Making sure that every single seller and every single buyer is on a campaign of some sort, right? You're going to want to make sure this person's kind of handling a lot of the administrative tasks that you can pay somebody $5 or $10 an hour. Second thing you're also going to want to do is that after you make your first 100 grand, you're going to want to make sure you get a bookkeeper. Go to your accountant, ask if they do bookkeeping services, and just pay them the money they ask for. They're gonna handle your books. That means every single dollar that comes in and every single dollar that goes out, they're gonna be tracking it. And you wanna be able to meet with them once a quarter to review it. And yeah, you're gonna pay money to do it, but guess what? It's gonna save your butt when you're dealing with taxes. It's gonna save your butt when you're trying to understand how a business works. You're gonna wanna make sure somebody's overlooking your books and it's not just you. And during that regimented schedule, you're also gonna wanna make sure you do not go on appointments until like 2 o'clock or later in the day, because the entire morning and early afternoon is going to be focused on doing the work that actually gets you paid. And of course, sometimes you have to go meet a client, of course, right? I get that, right? Or meeting somebody face to face for any type of meeting, coffee meetings, networking, whatever. But you don't go do that at 10 o'clock in the morning. I don't take meetings until after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. All right, and the last thing that I want you to focus on when you're trying to go from 100 to several hundred grand a year is going to be also one 1-hour meeting with yourself, by yourself, every single week. Now that meeting is gonna be incredibly important. It's called CEO time. That CEO time is gonna give you time to work on the business, not in the business, making your calls and all that kind of stuff, right? Like it's gonna be on the business. You're gonna be game planning. How are we doing? How many leads did we generate last month, last quarter, last year? How many contracts did we sign last month, last quarter, last year? How, you're gonna look through all your metrics. How many calls, how many emails went out, how many views on all your social media platforms. You're gonna look at everything, every metric's important. You're gonna review it all. Am I growing? Is the business growing? Or are we shrinking? Right? Are we dying? And you're gonna look at every single metric every single week. You're gonna do that for an hour. Now let's talk about the final piece. Let's say now you're making several $100 grand a year, $300,000 to $500,000 a year, and you're looking to take that to $1 million plus. Okay, now there's gonna be a few things you're gonna have to work on, and it's talk about team building. It's important to realize that in the commercial real estate world, of course, can you make 7 figures a little bit easier than the residential world because of the price ranges and the commission sizes? Sure. However, the vast majority of people who make net, in order to get there, you're probably gonna have to do several $1 million in gross income. In order to do several $1 million a year consistently, or again, when you're doing $1 million a year in net, let's just call it $2 million minimum gross, that's $500,000 in income per quarter. So if you're making $500,000 right now, that's 4 times what you're making right now, which is why building a team is very, very lucrative. The first thing I want to talk about is, how is your team structured today? Do you have an administrative assistant? Do you have 1 VA, 2 VAs? What does your team look like today? And assessing and doing something called an org chart. And on a piece of paper, you just write out at the very top, do a little circle and put your name. I would put an H for me, right, for Henry. And then you're gonna wanna build out a team. Like, what does your team actually need to look like in order to do the volume necessary to net $1 million? To start, you need to be looking at least a $2 million gross revenue number. $2 million gross is probably gonna give you bottom line somewhere around $1 million. And maybe you can do this with doing maybe $1.5 million, but you're probably gonna have to do substantially over $1 million. And just keep that in mind that you're not just grossing $1 million here. We're talking about how to net $1 million, which is why you need to build a team. You're gonna look at your org chart. Say, well, I'm gonna need administrative support, I'm gonna need sales support, and I'm gonna need some type of marketing support. And every single one of those arms, those departments, right, are very, very important. So administrative, let's talk about this. Yeah, you can start with a VA, but you're probably gonna end with a VA. When you're netting $1 million plus, you're probably gonna have some type of full-time staff that are working with you. Now, obviously, you can do maybe 10 to 15 transactions a year without full-time transactional support. I would recommend it still, because you can probably get somebody for $45,000 a year. And if you're doing 8 to 10 or 12 or 15 transactions a year, where each deal is $100,000 or several $100,000 a year, or each deal is several $100,000 or more individually of each deal, right? So you can do that, and you can probably have 1 full-time support staff, administrative assistant. And I did that for quite some time, where you can have 1 full-time employee, and that individual can support you until you're doing millions of dollars for the most part, okay? Now, what's important to realize that this administrative task, this administrative assistant or transaction support, you're gonna have this individual, but then I would also recommend probably having 2 or 3 VAs handling all the little things. So this person can handle like all of the very important stuff that's client facing, making sure they're coordinating everything with the attorneys and with the seller and the buyer, making sure all that's being handled. They can do a lot of client facing stuff, and even a lot of the emails that individual might be sending out can be done by VAs. What I realized is that VAs have really excelled my business in a lot of different ways, because you're not overpaying, which means a lot more profit comes down to your bottom line, which means you can grow faster because you can hire more people. But it's also, keep in mind that like I used to have 11 full-time support staff, tens and tens of thousands of dollars in payroll a month. And I'm realizing like I was just paying out a bunch of money because it was just like an ego thing, and I didn't need that. And I got thankfully, really dumbed down my team, where like we don't have anywhere near, like it was nearly a $50,000 a month in payroll, where you just don't need that. So what I found is that the VAs are really great for, administrative and transactional support that is not the client-facing piece, right? Like not on the phone specifically, and I don't do that. You can have 1 full-time transaction coordinator who's supported by 2 or 3 different VAs, but I also would look at this as you can have a transaction coordinator, and you're gonna have an executive assistant. This executive assistant is gonna be someone who's just focused on you, does your personal email. Now, second piece is sales. You're gonna wanna start bringing on some salespeople. All licensed realtors who are gonna come on as junior agents. We're gonna have them come on, and you're gonna educate them. They can make some of your cold calls or a lot of your cold calls for you. They can reach out to your buyers list and pitch deals with you. They can even go on your showings for you if you don't think you feel like you need to be there, right? They're gonna be doing a lot of your tours, right? They can show, schedule tours, or your team VAs can schedule the tours, and the agents can go and show up and stand there and present the property and go tour the properties, right? You can have them do a lot of the things that you don't need to do, but there's a lot of lead generation that still be incredibly valuable that's going to come from these people. And the last piece of this puzzle is the marketing, right? So I have a lot of VAs. I have a team of nearly 10 people who just handle all my marketing, all the content you see, right? Where it's like it's edited, it's posted, people are responded to, like all that kind of stuff is all leveraged, right? I can't be spending my time all the time on social media. Like, it's just ridiculous, right? Like, it has a very low dollar per hour specific for me to be doing this, but it needs to be posted because it has a very high amount of money in return overall, long term. Okay, so keep in mind, like, don't go crazy on social media. Like, you don't need to build this out until you have a major organization where, like, at the very beginning, you could do it all yourself and do it cheap, but you need to be posting. And you need to realize that the first few years, you're not going to make a crazy return. So you're not going to have a huge team delegated all this stuff to, right? At the very, very beginning. And you're not going to want to spend, like I spend, $10,000 a month minimum on my entire marketing. Like, all the content you see cost me $10,000 a month. Is a team, a huge group of people, right? Like, almost 10 people are handling this. But like you said, it's a lot of VAs, right? These 3 departments are going to be needed in order to have a $2 million a year gross revenue company, but you're going to grow into them. Next point is you must be paying attention to your average commission percentage and your average total deal size, right? So your sales price and your average commission percentage are very, very, very important because that's going to equate to how much money you're going to make per deal. And the only way to really be scaling is making sure that each and every single year or every quarter, ideally, that number is growing. So if your average deal size was $1 million last year, in order to make substantially more money, you must increase your deal size. You must be making more money per deal, which means instead of doing $1 million deals, start doing $2 million, $5 million deals at the same volume. And even if you did a little bit less, but you did substantially more business, right? Instead of doing, let's say you did 10 $1 million deals last year for $10 million of volume, 3% commission, maybe $300,000. But let's just say that we can get your average deal size to, let's just say $4 million, and instead of doing 10 deals, you only did 7 deals. That's 4 times 7, that's $28 million. So it's 2.8 times the amount. And if you can work on your average commission percentage, so instead of 3%, now you're getting 5%. 5% on $28 million is freaking awesome, right? It's like substantially over $1 million, right? What that's allowing is it's going to get you closer to your $2 million goal that much faster, right? It's almost $1.8 million. Next point is expanding your network. The way to really grow and to do massive numbers, you need to have a very, very successful network. So our investors, the people that we work with, some of the highest level people that you find in several of our focused areas, right? We want to be working with the most active investors, the most successful investors in each marketplace, the people who are doing the most business, who are constantly buying more and more properties, who are constantly selling and buying properties in every marketplace. We want to become their best friends. So expand your network. You want to be becoming close to and building relationships with all of the most active investors in any marketplace that you're working in, because it's very hard to scale in any marketplace where you do not know the big players and have a relationship with those players. And I'm not saying the people who are buying hundreds of millions of dollars in properties, like the huge properties in some instances. I mean, just saying, like, whatever you're trying to sell, you need to know those players. Next piece is you're going to be wanting to work your past client list. Okay, even if you've only had a couple dozen properties or less than a dozen properties, you're going to want to work through that client list and try to work on getting referrals. You don't just close one deal and try to never do a deal with that person ever again. Even if it was hypothetically a 70-year-old guy who looks to retire, I guarantee you he hangs out with other guys that are around his age and they're all looking to retire. So you're going to want to work through that network that individual has. You're going to want to have network leverage. So you're going to be trying to work through your closed deals and try to get referrals through building out systems. How did my team and I do for you? You did a fantastic job. Great. Can I ask you a favor? Sure. Well, of course. What can I do for you? But can I count on you for one fantastic referral? Someone who's just like you, who exactly like they just did, sold a property and looking to retire, or hypothetically just bought a property and looking to build their portfolio. Can I count on you for somebody like that in the next 30 days? Yeah, sure. Of course. No problem. Boom. That's the simplicity of this game. Next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to be also, as you build your team, is that you're going to want to be building great culture. People are not going to stay, right? And I wouldn't recommend anybody stays at a place where they're unhappy, whether it's a company or a team or anything. You're not going to be doing something that you're unhappy with. Doing something like a monthly event with your team, even like a weekly thing where you do, like, whether it's a happy hour, like I'm not a big drinker, so I wouldn't do weekly happy hours, but like a weekly thing where you guys all kind of hang out. Maybe like you do like a Saturday workout session, a Saturday yoga session, whatever that is that you can go do together as a team and be building culture. It's very, very important to do. And as you build a sales team, you're going to want to take them too, right? Like you're going to bring everybody along. And obviously VAs, what you can do is you can try to do like a time where you connect with all of them for, it doesn't have to be 3 hours with your VAs, but I would recommend spending some time with them and getting to know them. And if it's like, hey, like one time a month, if you're eating at your desk or doing a lunch at your desk, eat with your VAs and have a conversation with them and spend time with them and get to know them, because they're part of your organization, part of your world, and they're taking care of you and your family. You're going to want to spend time with them. Is that if you would like to earn a substantial amount of money, like $1 million net income, you have to then take your money that you earn and invest your money in the best deals that you come across. One time a year, at minimum, one time a year, you're going to want to invest in a piece of real estate, I urge you, I implore you that if you really want to build wealth with your family, you must, of course, be invested in real estate over a long period of time. So especially if you don't want to pay a lot of taxes, because if you're going to be making a lot of money, netting $1 million, you're going to pay a lot of money in taxes unless you invest it in real estate. What's made me a lot of money in the last few years, not only selling a lot of real estate, but it's investing in the deals that we come across, the best deals that we come across, investing in those deals, rolling my commission in those deals, or taking my money that I've saved and then investing in those properties, right? And that's allowed me to pay a lot less taxes, and it's also allowed me to have cash flow that pays a lot of my bills so I don't stress out. Because eventually what happens is if you do $2 million gross revenue or more, right, when you're netting and taking home $1 million, and let's just say that you invest, call it $500,000 a year, you live on the rest, right, and you're saving some money for personal reasons, right, and you invest $500,000 a year for the next 10 years, and right, you never made more than really $2 million gross and $1 million net. What happens is, in 10 years from now, investing now $5 million over the last 10 years, that money, all of a sudden it's going to turn into a ton of real estate, a net worth of $6, $7, $8, $10 million plus in real estate. Owning $20 million worth of real estate, having cash flows of $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year in cash flows over time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, drop in the chat box down below, in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this content, again, if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, everybody.